Hi, I'm Jamie McLennan, Professor of Sociology at Georgia Southwestern State University, and in this video I'm going to talk about impression management. Picture yourself about to go on a first date, and you really like the other person. So you want them to like you. What do? There's the obvious, like making sure you're clean, smelling good, well-groomed, so you'll be spending some time looking at yourself in the mirror. Beyond those basics, you might want your date to think you're nice, funny, intelligent, interesting perhaps, and you'll probably also want your date to think that you're interested in him or her. This may be who you really are, or you might be putting on a little bit of an act. And all those things that you do to get your date to think of you in a certain way is what the late sociologist Erving Goffman called impression management. Impression management is a concept Goffman developed in his 1956 book, The Presentation of Self in Everyday Life. And for that book, he watched people interacting with each other and attempted to decipher the patterns that emerged across the interactions that he observed. He was a legit professional people watcher, and he saw that an actor, as he says, often engages in impression management to convince an observer or the audience to believe certain things about the actor, essentially attempting to manipulate how the actor is perceived. This is obvious on a first date, but let's say the first date goes well and you get into a serious relationship and go to meet their parents for the first time. You might be keeping it real, but most people engage in impression management by being on their best behavior because they want the parents to support the relationship. You wouldn't act like you act around your friends. If you did, the parents would probably do what they could to convince their son or daughter to end the relationship with you, and you don't want that. So you most likely act like you think you should act so that they'll like you. Or imagine going on a job interview. There are a ton of things that you can do to increase the likelihood that you'll get the job, from showing up early, to acting confident, to being respectful. That would also be impression management. Hopefully you can see how useful it can be to engage in good impression management. Now, looking at it from the perspective of the observer, knowing that someone you're interacting with is probably engaging in impression management, more or less manipulating what you think of them, how can you avoid falling for the slick veneer that people put up? They might not be an outright con man, but you don't want to fall in love with someone who's not all they're cracked up to be, hire someone who isn't qualified, or approve of your child's relationship if the person is unsuitable. One thing you can do to find out the truth about a person is to observe them when they don't think they're being observed. In his book, Goffman tells the story of Shetland Islanders who live off the coast of Scotland going to someone else's house for dinner. And he noticed that a guest would show up sometimes in an unhappy mood, perhaps not thrilled to be seeing their host. But right as the host opened the door, the guest would put on a smiling face. "It's so great to see you." Once the host began realizing that this was happening, and in order to get a more accurate idea of how that person really felt about coming over, they would peek out the window to observe their facial expression as they walked up to the door. Of course, the guests then figured that out, and they began putting on a pleasant facial expression before they could be seen walking up to the door. Goffman describes a potentially infinite cycle of concealment, discovery, false revelation, and rediscovery. Another thing you can do is look for information they are giving off that's generally out of their control, like their posture, body language, hand and eye movements, and any fidgeting. You can also ask them questions and see if their answers are congruent with their claims. Dig deep. Ask probing questions to get beneath the surface. Another approach that works is to wait. It's hard to keep up a front for very long, probably not months and months. Someone's true character will be revealed in time, and if you don't have a lot of time, get into a stressful situation with them. This is something I suggested to my oldest daughter as she began dating. Get lost and see what he does. Be late for something and you're in rush hour traffic and see how he reacts. Ultimately, people can be very good at fooling us, but it's not as easy when they're under pressure. So just as it's useful to be good at impression management, it's also important to be good at judging people's character, especially knowing that they might be trying to manipulate you. Best of luck to you as you navigate the social world. And let me know in the comments down below if you have any good techniques for really figuring out a person's character and what they're up to. And if you liked the video, please comment, like, share, subscribe to the channel, and thanks for watching.